Hello, my name is Jason Laney, a meteorologist here with the National Weather Service in El Paso, and this update is being recorded on Monday morning, January 28th. This is going to be a quick look at what we expect climatologically, more than anything, for the rest of our winter and into the spring months. And this update is geared primarily for our partners over at the New Mexico Department of Transportation, as they're the ones that have requested this. That said, let's go ahead and see what's going on. We'll start with an update on El Nino, and believe it or not, El Nino is still a no-show for us out there. Officially, we have El Nino neutral conditions, despite the fact that temperatures in the tropical equatorial parts of the Pacific are warmer than normal, which is what you would expect with an El Nino. Right now, we've been given a 65% chance that El Nino will finally develop sometime during the spring, but even if it does, it's going to be weak, and because we're so late into our winter season now, I suspect that even if El Nino does form, that it's going to have very little impact whatsoever on our weather around here. Probably a better guide to what we can expect would be based on climatology, the history, what typically happens in a normal year, as well as some of the forecast models that we're looking at. So that's what I'm going to give you here. We'll start off, though, with February. This is the official outlook that comes our way from the Climate Prediction Center. And on the left-hand side of your screen here, of course, is our probabilities for exceeding temperatures above normal or below normal. And right now, we're basically what it says there, EC, or equal chances. So basically what you would expect in any given February is what we can anticipate in the months to come, and the same goes for precipitation. No signal towards being definitely wetter or drier than normal out there for us. So that's the look at next month, February, to wrap up our winter. And as far as the spring is concerned, March through May. As far as temperatures go, again, temperatures pretty close to what you would expect throughout the spring, but we do have a little wrinkle here. Notice the above normal precipitation chances that are starting to show up into spring. Normally spring's very dry and very windy around here. This doesn't mean that we're going to have a tremendous amount of precipitation, but what it does tell us is that we're probably going to get more than we typically see in a season around here. So those are official outlooks that are put together by the Climate Prediction Center. One of the tools that they use there is one of the tools that we can look at here in our office as well, a multitude of climate forecast models. And when they're all kind of put together, we call them ensembles. They kind of give us a generalized idea as to what to expect. So I'm going to take you through the next 4 months there from the model standpoint and show you what we're expecting. Now, these are departures from normal. So whatever normal temperature is, if it's in the orange and yellow, we're expecting it to be somewhat warmer than normal. If it's in the blues, we expect it to be colder than normal. So that said, you can see February most definitely is showing us a warmer than normal signal. Now, don't buy a whole lot into that, because as I speak, there's a cold front headed this way, and we're going to be considerably colder by tomorrow. But that cold snap is not going to last too terribly long. However, March is showing trend of being cooler than normal by several degrees. April will be just about normal, and then by the time we get into May, maybe leaning back towards slightly cooler than normal. As far as our precipitation goes through this time period, well, it's showing near normal precipitation for February, leaning towards a wetter side of things for March. Notice the green across southern New Mexico. Staying a bit on the wet side for April as well as May. So all 3 of those months, we could see a little more activity than we're typically used to as the spring unfolds. Another way to look at that instead of monthly is weekly, because obviously a lot can go on in a month. As we break it down by week, we get a clearer picture of what the model seems to think is going to happen. And as far as this week is concerned, now this model ran back on Friday, but from Friday to Friday, which encompasses this week, even though temperatures were mild for the most part over the weekend, notice the trend towards colder temperatures. That's that cold front that's coming in late on the 28th, the day that I'm recording this. But this cold stay is not going to last all that terribly long, because by the time we get into the first week of February, we're showing signals of warmer than normal. By the second week of February, temperatures still a little warmer than normal, but not as much as the first week. And the same story goes for, say, the third week of February. However, as we get in towards the end of February over here, I'll circle it in the lower center model, that's the one that's showing that we could be turning cooler than normal and staying that way on into the early stages of March. So why is this important? Well, if you look at history, in February, we still have a pretty decent chance at getting some snow. Not a lot, but a little bit. I think the average climatological history says that we get somewhere around, more or less a half inch of snow from a quick hitting system in February, and we can get some pretty cool snaps as well. So while we're not anticipating a lot of precipitation here during this week, there are going to be a couple of light rain makers, I think, coming in, one by Wednesday, another towards the weekend, but I don't think they're going to have a major impact on the area. We continue to start February off on the dry side, but by the middle of February, the signal says we're turning a little wetter than normal. Then the 3rd and 4th weeks of February, things pretty much so close to normal. But normal could include at least one more winter precipitation maker and even into early March there. So I think the best way to look at this, to be honest with everyone, is to look at what typically happens around here. While we'll have some days that go higher, some days that go lower, I think in general we can expect nothing more than typical weather for the next several months because of the absence of El Nino and its influence on the area. So what I've laid out here for you to look at, and you guys have access to a PDF of this as well, are the average temperature and precipitation for both Las Cruces and Deming, and keep in mind that these areas also have a chance at getting some snow. Right now, the forecast models that we look at operationally that take us easily through about 10 days are not showing any major winter storms. So in the short term, we're looking okay. We can't rule out the possibility mid to late February of a quick hitting winter storm. And as far as the story for our springtime goes, I think we could see a little more activity as far as weather makers go, but each of those weather makers probably will be associated with wind makers as well. So obviously we expect the wind to come our way as we get into spring, and more than likely that's what we can anticipate. Hope this helps out. If you have any questions, we're always available on the web, and you can contact us here at the National Weather Service as well.